Boao Forum for Asia is about open and inclusive Asia for the prosperity of the world. This is in line with China's theme of building a peaceful and prosperous neighborhood in Asia. And Pakistan has been a trusted and long-standing partner of China. How does Pakistan think of China's role in the neighborhood of Asia? And how will the bilateral relationship reshape the regional economy? And I'm honored today to be joined by Prime Minister of Pakistan, Prime Minister Abbasi, here in Boao. So we will talk about this and much more in our program. This is Dialogue. I'm Joel. Prime Minister, thank you for agreeing to this interview. Many people say Pakistan and China has been enjoying long-standing and stable friendship relations, but is it mutually beneficial for both? How would you describe the evolution of bilateral relations?
It's a relationship that is 70 years old now, since Pakistan came into being. And it's been a time-tested relationship. Over the years, we started with a military and economic relationship. It has grown, and with President Xi's initiative for the Belt and Road, the BRI, and of course the CPEC, which is today the most visible part of the BRI. This relationship has grown manyfold, and we believe that President Xi's initiative in the region and as part of the push towards the West, Pakistan will greatly benefit from this relationship. And it's a very strong bilateral relationship that we hope will grow in the future.
And President Xi will probably announce a slew of new policies about China's reform and opening up at Boao. How do you think the new policies of China's economic liberalization will affect the regional economy and particularly Pakistan?
Any growth in China is positive for Pakistan. Pakistan, as I said, is part of the access for the region to the sea, is part of the connectivity, and as trade grows, Pakistan will also grow. So we are very positive, very optimistic about President Xi's policies, and we believe they will not only greatly benefit the region, but also the whole world.
There are some worries from around the world. The increasing threat from protectionism and trade disputes, especially the recent dispute between China and the United States. People in Asia worried there might be a trade war between the two major economies. What does Pakistan think of this?
Well, we believe there's a quantum change in the world. China is talking about liberalism, and who used to be the champion of liberalism, the US, is today talking about protectionism. And we do not believe protectionism can work. So opening up, liberalism, this is the way for the future.
Okay, let's talk about the newly elected leadership of China. In this March, in China's legislature, a new generation of leadership was sworn in. And they vowed to further reform China's economy and open up itself even wider. Do you have trust in the new leadership and the new era of Sino-Pakistan relations?
Of course, every change in China has been positive for the region, the world, and Pakistan. This is a leadership that we know. We've been working with them for the last decade. So we are very optimistic about China's policies, about President Xi's vision, and the direction that China is taking. So we see tremendous growth in the region. We see bilateral ties growing, and I think it will be positive for the region and the whole world.
Let's talk about Pakistani economy. There is concerns with your depleting foreign reserves and also a drop in rupee values. The Pakistani economy has been in some kind of difficulties. What is your evaluation of Pakistan's economy this year, and what is your policies in response?
Well, the rupee has to find its real value. So that is what is happening. There's a correction in the value of the rupee. We are in a growth phase. We are close to 5% growth for the last 2 years. We hope to achieve 6% plus sustained growth. And whenever you have a growing economy, you have current account issues. And that is what we're facing today. We're managing the issue, and I'm very positive that it will take a couple of years to come out of this issue, and especially with the yuan parity growing, I think it will be very positive for Pakistan.
And interestingly, you mentioned yuan because it seems Pakistan wants to keep some of the Chinese currency as a reserve in a swap of trade. Why is Pakistan doing this?
It is very beneficial for bilateral trade, and that is what we are aiming for. And the bilateral trade is improving. Since there is pressure on the dollar reserves, I think the move toward the yuan will be a positive step for both Pakistan and China. And it will help internationalize the yuan.
And will this stabilize your financial situation in any way?
It is part of our management strategy for the current account deficit, and I think it will be a very positive move in that direction.
Let's talk about the Belt and Road. The Belt and Road initiative put forward by President Xi several years ago has been unfolding, and one of the first projects probably that was seen fruits is in Pakistan. How do you see the project going forward, and how will that help Pakistan's economy?
Well, as part of the OBOR and now the BRI, and the CPEC is really the visible part of the BRI towards the West today, it's been very positive. It's helped Pakistan grow. It has helped, number one, us to overcome the energy deficit that we had. The connectivity is improving. We are today building 1,700 kilometers of multi-lane motorway. We are building special economic zones. The Gwadar Port is operational, which will provide access for the whole of Central Asia to the sea, the most efficient access, and the regional connectivity is growing. So it's been a very positive move for both Pakistan and the whole region.
So what is the focus of this China-Pakistan economic corridor? Is it more about infrastructure building, energy, or manufacturing? What is your focus?
The eventual focus will, of course, be manufacturing, because that creates jobs, that improves trade, that helps the economy. But to do that, you have to build the infrastructure. So wherever we had deficits, the CPEC is plugging those gaps. And it will be very beneficial for Pakistan in the short term and both the long term, because it will help in providing industrial growth and help in improving the trade, both bilateral and with the region, and help us overcome the current account deficits that we have today.
And have you seen already those infrastructure projects working the way that it should, and have Pakistani people enjoying the benefits already?
Yes, it is happening. The energy deficit has been bridged. We were a country which was having great amounts of energy shortages, rolling delays, 12-hour blackouts. Today, we have almost covered the deficit. The infrastructure, both on the road and with other connectivity, is growing, and that will help Pakistan connect to the region and to Western China.
And people are saying, well, this corridor is basically from the west of China to Gwadar through west of Pakistan. And there are security concerns in that part of both of countries. Do they concern you because the terrorist attacks and the security situation?
It was a major concern when the project started, but we addressed that concern. And not only in that region, but even the rest of Pakistan today is terror-free. It is free of terrorists. We fought the terrorists. We defeated the terrorists. So the whole of the CPEC corridor area, the physical area, is today free of any kind of security concerns. Of course, we value the security issues very deeply, and we have provided for security, and it's been till now a totally incident-free situation.
With due respect, just last year, still 2 Chinese nationals were abducted in Baluchistan. And there are, they say, thousands of security officers and soldiers keeping guard on those infrastructure projects. Should we still worry about the possibility of terror attacks?
No, there's always a possibility, but the probability is very low today. The security is very tight, it has been provided, it has worked, and the 2 persons that you talk about were people who had traveled without permission and without knowledge into that area. So, and they were not part of the CPEC projects. So, while it was a sad incident, but it was actually, if the knowledge had been provided, it would probably not have happened.
And earlier you mentioned the Gwadar Port. Of course, that will be strategically important for China as well as for Pakistan. How is the construction going on, and what is your vision for that port in the Arabian Sea?
The Gwadar Port is functional today. It is providing access to the sea not only for Pakistan and Western China, but Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. A whole host of countries will benefit from that project. It's a very critical project, not only for Pakistan but the region. And it is now functioning, and we hope it will grow into an international hub with the airport also coming up, the economic zones coming up, and with greater connectivity to that project.
And are you happy with the progress of the construction?
I have visited
and operation.
I have visited there twice. We inaugurated the building for the Port Authority. It is functioning very well. The port is functioning very well. The container terminal has been built. So it is going according to plan. The access bypassing the city is also under construction. The economic zone is under construction. So it's quite an impressive project in that sense.
You said it's impressive. It is indeed impressive and is going on in full swing. But there are concerns in the region. For example, our neighbor, India, has been saying the China-Pakistan economic corridor is a strategic threat to the security of India. What do you say to that?
I think the world can see for itself. No development project is a threat to anybody. Development projects are only beneficial to the country itself, to its neighbors. It helps in trade, and whenever trade grows, peace also grows. So we are very optimistic about that project as part of CPEC, as part of the regional connectivity. So I think India should not have any concerns, and we are always open to bilateral negotiations with India to resolve our issues, and that's the way we look at this project also.
And do you think specifically this corridor can provide some substantial economic benefits for not only Pakistan, China, but India and Bangladesh and all those South Asian nations?
Well, it's how they look at the project, because Western India can benefit from this project. But again, that depends on how India views the situation, and of course the resolution of our ties, of our issues. And the core issue is Kashmir, where our stance is very simple, that it has to be resolved according to the UN Security Council resolutions, which are 70 years old today. It's that simple. The ties between India and Pakistan can be resolved if those Security Council resolutions are implemented.
About that economic corridor, Beijing is investing about $60 billion in that corridor. And can you tell us how those kind of investment will go down and trickle down to different projects, and how will the projects serve?
The eventual investment will be in that level, 60 billion plus. Today, the investment has gone into power projects, into highway projects, into the port, into airports, into motorway projects. So it's providing connectivity at the moment. And with infrastructure development and also the growth of industrialization, this project is a very viable project. It will help Pakistan grow, and it's already contributed greatly to our 5.6% growth this year. So we are very optimistic about this project.
You mentioned industrialization, and so far it is just energy capacity building, infrastructure building, but how long does it take for you to really have manufacturing going up? That needs talents and also capacity building of industrializing.
Absolutely. But the first step is infrastructure. With the economic zones coming up, with the incentives provided there, we already have trained manpower, we have people, we have entrepreneurs who are very vibrant. So it's just a matter of providing the right incentives, the connectivity and the infrastructure. So that is how we view the whole of the CPEC. The basics are there, the basics are good, and all we need to do is provide the infrastructure and to provide the connectivity, and the rest will happen.
All right, we'll take a short break, Mr. Prime Minister, and this is Dialogue. We've been talking about Pakistan thinking about China-Pakistan relations. We'll be right back. There are also concerns that the debt problem will create some degree of dependency of Pakistan on China.
And our numbers are well within the limits that economists place on a growing economy.
How do you look at the future momentum of SCO?
We view the SCO as a forum that can help the region grow also, the region understand each other.
What will be your main message to President Xi?
Our main message would be to continue with this vision, to provide direction to the region.
And this is Dialogue. We're talking to Prime Minister Abbasi. There are also concerns that the debt problem will create some degree of dependency of Pakistan on China. Do you worry about the viability of your financial situation down the road if you cannot pay back those loans?
The numbers speak for themselves. Most countries to grow borrow, and then they achieve growth rates and they pay back the debt. That is the model we are following. And our numbers are well within the limits that economists place on a growing economy. So we are not really concerned about that. Our concern is really the ability to achieve the industrialization, to achieve the benefits of investment into infrastructure, so that the country can grow and be able to repay its debt. And so far, with the growth rate going up from about 3% to 5.6%, these are positive signs.
So in the final analysis, the Belt and Road Initiative is to empower the people along the route. As you said, we need to train the workers, to give them jobs. But what do you think China can do in that respect and help Pakistanis have better access to education, jobs, and healthcare, those kind of things?
Of course, whenever the economy grows, the people also benefit. So that is the bottom line. And the same thing is true for the CPEC. We expect Chinese entrepreneurs to come in to put industries in the economic zones. We expect them to provide the expertise and the knowledge that our country may be lacking. Our own entrepreneurs, as I said, it's a very vibrant investment atmosphere. So I'm sure they will pick up the knowledge from the Chinese counterparts, they will benefit from Chinese experience, and it will help both Pakistan and China grow.
And have you heard anything from their cooperation in those projects? Are they working well? Do they have knowledge gaps and perception differences that needs to be improved?
Of course, there's always a gap. We were growing at a much slower rate. For example, in highway construction, we had no company which could meet international standards. Today we have several companies which are partnering with Chinese companies and building highways. And I have discussed this with many of the Chinese entrepreneurs who come there, the companies that have come there, and they're very satisfied with the knowledge, the equipment, and the expertise that Pakistanis have developed over the last 4 years. So it's a very positive, that's just one sign. The same thing in investment in power, in development of economic zones. So there's a lot of positivity around, and already the benefits of cooperation are paying dividends.
And that means that culturally, Pakistanis and the Chinese are getting to know each other better. Is that something that happened? And how will that help each other have trust in their future?
The cultural cooperation has been there for 70 years. We grew up knowing Chinese culture. We had annual visits from Chinese
You yourself know Chinese culture pretty well?
Yes, I mean, just from living in Pakistan and being exposed to all the events over the years. And in fact, my father was one of the first people he was an Air Force officer, and he traveled to China in the 60s to ferry airplanes from China over the Himalayas into Pakistan. So we know China and China knows us, so we're very comfortable with working with the Chinese, with understanding the culture, and getting to know China even more. I mean, you'll be surprised at the number of private institutions, let alone government institutions, teaching the Chinese language today.
Let's talk about geopolitics a little bit. We understand that Pakistan will join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and your representative will attending the Qingdao Summit this June. What does Pakistan look for when it chose to join the SCO?
I think it's an important forum regionally for the multilateral cooperation between the countries on a whole host of issues. Especially of concern has been the counter-terrorism effort. And Pakistan has been a big part of that. And we view the SCO as a forum that can help the region grow also, the region understand each other, and for greater cooperation in fields which otherwise would have been hard to cooperate on. So we see it as a very positive forum, and I think Pakistan's inclusion in the SCO will greatly benefit the other members also.
And India is also a new addition to the SCO. That will probably change the makeup of this organization and possibly the agenda. How do you look at the future momentum of SCO going forward?
Well, multilateral contract always contributes to improvement of bilateral relations also. So that is how we view it. It creates a better understanding of the issues in a greater context, and that is how we view the SCO and India and Pakistan's inclusion into the SCO.
And another thing is, of course, the U.S. decided to pull off some of the security support to Pakistan. People are saying, what kind of challenge will this pose to Pakistan and its implications for China-Pakistan relations? Can you weigh in on that, Mr. Prime Minister?
Well, the Trump administration has taken a policy which probably is not beneficial to the region. We have at all levels articulated our viewpoint to them, which basically is that Pakistan is a partner in the war against terror. Pakistan has fought the largest war against terror in the world. Even today we have 200,000 troops committed to fighting that war. And the reality is that we have won against the same enemy on the same terrain where the rest of the world failed in Afghanistan. So that's the reality of the situation. We have cleared our territory of the terrorists. Our cities are safe now, and I explained to you before that when CPEC started, there was a threat perception. That threat perception has dropped considerably, substantially today. So we have always told the world and the US that we are partners in the war against terror. Nobody wants peace more in Afghanistan than Pakistan. And that is how we view the whole situation.
But you also think it's still very hard to convince the current US administration to have trust in Pakistan's security efforts?
Well, we can only articulate our viewpoint. Our military has a large number of US-based systems. There have been sanctions or embargoes imposed on several of those systems, and all that is done is degraded our effort to fight the war against terror. And we have looked towards China, and China has been providing some of those systems where we are now able to fight the war against terror, especially as far as aircraft are concerned. The GF-17 built with Chinese cooperation is today our mainstay in the air effort against the war against on terror.
And also China has been more active in brokering political process among Afghanistan, Pakistan, and China. How do you look at the recent efforts, and will that make a difference?
The trilateral effort has been very substantial. It has helped a better understanding. Of course, there are other efforts also underway, but we believe that the Chinese effort has been very substantial and will contribute to peace in Afghanistan, and it supplements and complements the other efforts in place.
Okay, and my final question now. You attend the Boao Forum for Asia. That will be an open and inclusive theme. What is your expectations for the forum, and what is your major takeaway on your mind?
Well, the forums like the Boao Forum help develop an understanding of the issues, the ability of the other countries to contribute to those issues, to help trade develop. And it's not only the multilateral aspect of the Boao Forum, it's also the bilateral aspect, the bilateral meetings that take place here, that help contribute trade and in developing an understanding, in developing cooperation, and developing connectivity. So it's a very substantial forum, and especially with President Xi's vision of the BRI, which even at the Davos Forum was the focus of debate, where the whole world appreciated that this is a project of a generation, and it will implement generational change. So today the world looks at the Boao Forum and President Xi's vision to provide a greater understanding of what President Xi is thinking and where China is going.
And what will be your main message to President Xi when you meet him?
Our main message would be to continue with his vision, to provide direction to the region, to provide direction from China, especially in the BRI, to provide connectivity, to provide trade, and to provide leadership in developing closer ties between the countries, both in the region and the world.
Leadership in what way?
Leadership in trade, leadership in developing closer ties, leadership in helping economies grow, and China has been doing that over the last decade, and President Xi's articulation of his vision here, especially the BRI. As I said, the BRI is a project of a generation, so that will greatly help the whole the world. The world is viewing it as something that is very unique, something that is visionary, and something that will help the whole world come together.
And on that optimist tone, thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, very good to see you.